Hello everybody, it's Julia here from the Highly Sensitive Tarot, and I'm here today with something a little bit different really. This video is partly for me because I'm hoping that maybe by the end of the year I'll be able to look back and see that I've actually made some progress, which would be nice. But I hope that this video might be helpful for some of you as well. So this video is about procrastination or overthinking, and I thought I would tell you about the steps that I'm going to try and take to reduce my procrastination. And I've picked out some tarot cards just to show you, just to illustrate some of those points really. So I've suffered with anxiety all my life. I mean, I can remember it in my childhood. It's just been an enduring feature of my life, this sort of generalized anxiety that will float around and attach itself to all sorts of things really. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that procrastination, this sort of going back and forth, is just something I do such a lot, and it really frustrates me, to be honest. It's one of my biggest frustrations in life, one of my biggest energy drainers, I suppose. You know, I have fibromyalgia, and so I can be a little bit of a flat battery anyway. And if I'm investing much of my energy in overthinking, then I'm going to drain myself even further, aren't I? So I think 2023 for me is going to be a year of trying to tackle my overthinking habits and my procrastination habits. And I was looking the other day on some social media, and somebody had left a quote from Seneca, who's like this sort of stoic philosopher, I think from a Roman philosopher. And he had written that procrastination snatches away each day and denies us our present by promising us the future. So it snatches away each day and denies us the present by promising us the future. And that's a very accurate description, I think, of procrastination really, because my mind is always trying to work out every angle of everything, I suppose. And this is a fear-based response to life. I'm aware of that. It's to do with my anxiety. It's based on past fears. I think that if you suffer from anxiety, you can often swing between two sort of extremes really. You can either avoid things, or you can sometimes overdo things by trying to control things, I suppose. So the avoiding of things would be like, for instance, I suffer with quite a great deal of anxiety about being overwhelmed out in the outside world around people. I can become sensory overwhelmed very quickly, so that can be a real anxiety for me. And because of that, I find myself avoiding going out going out and spending a lot of time out in the world, because it's exhausting, to be fair. And then there are other things that, in my attempts to sort of feel comfortable and understand things, I will just overthink, and that's where the procrastination comes in really. And I think these two cards here really, for me, just sort of illustrate that really. This one is it's a disturbing image, I think, this one, from the Osho Zen Tarot. This is the Knight of Swords, and it's quite a disturbing image, isn't it? But that's really how I feel that my mind is sometimes. It's like it's become a machine and it takes over, and I'm somewhere still in the middle of all of that, but it's like the machinery has taken over. And then we've got the Seven of Cups, which is choices, isn't it? Choices. And if you get presented with too many choices when you are an anxious person, that's just a surefire way to procrastinate and to overthink and to tie yourself up in knots. So I thought, I've been thinking about what can I do to help myself, and I've come up with, I think, 7 points of 7 things that I'm going to try and put into practice this year, and that I hope will soothe some of my overthinking and some of my anxiety. So the first step is, number 1, is to take life step by step, to break things down into sort of manageable chunks, manageable chunks of action, I suppose, because I think that your mind, your intellect, your imagination, all of those things can be just completely crushed by trying to remember everything as a whole, by trying to see the bigger picture all the time. And I think if you can break certain activities, certain tasks, certain things down into small bite-sized sort of chunks, it can be much less scary. And I think, although this card traditionally in tarot might have a slightly different meaning, I think this one does resonate for me with that point, in that, you know, the woman here, it's her perception of the situation that's the problem, isn't it? She's not trapped. She may feel that she is, but she's not. You know, there's a way out of the swords. She could wriggle free of the bindings around her, and then she could take her blindfold off, and step by step she would be able to get out of that situation. She's not actually trapped, she just feels that she's trapped. And that's because, partly, you know, what I was saying, that her mind, her intellect, her imagination, all of those things are kind of crushed by the weight of her situation. You know, it's an overwhelm, isn't it? So so that's point number 1. Take life step by step. I will put these as bullet points in the description box for this video, so that you can look at those for yourself if you want to. Point number 2 is cut out the crap. Cut out the crap of all the kind of inessential things of life. I think we can have so many pulls on our time and our energy that it can just overclutter our mind and overcomplicate things. And this will just lead to more procrastination, or it certainly does for me. So I think if you're really trying to seek peace and tranquility and harmony in your life, then you need to keep it simple. And I've got some cards here to demonstrate that. This is the 7 of Wands from the Osho Zen, and this is called stress. And as you can see, this person here, their life is about as complicated as it can get, isn't it? You know, they're balancing on a balloon. The monkey could pop the balloon. They're trying to hold the monkey on a lead. They're trying to blow a trumpet. They're trying to juggle candles. I mean, I think people's lives can feel this way sometimes. Like I said, we have so many pulls on our time. I know, you know, I'm in my mid-50s, and I know plenty of people my sort of age that have children that are still kind of dependent. They have elderly parents. They may work, have a full-time job as well. And where's the time for you in all of that? You know, I'm not saying that you can kind of declutter or cut out any of those things, because they're actually really important, essential parts of life to take care of your family and, you know, things like that. But there are many things that we get ourselves involved in that we probably don't need to. I think another card that makes me think about that sort of energy is, this is the Five of Swords. This is from Osho Zen, and this says comparison. And, you know, there is no comparison between a tree and a stick of bamboo. You know, they are entirely different things. They may both be plants, but they are entirely different things. And I think we can often compare ourselves to other people and think, well, you know, if they can do that, I can too. And I know that I spent a lot of my life stuck in that sort of energy, and it's not healthy. You know, we are all unique and individual, and comparing yourself to other people's abilities or achievements is just a surefire way to torment, really. And I think this other card here as well, this is the Two of Cups. No, the Five, sorry, that looked like a two. The Five of Cups in the Osho Zen, and this is clinging to the past. And as you can see, if you hold on to everything from the past, you are going to overcomplicate and overwhelm your mind very, very quickly. So again, not a good energy. So point number 2 is cut out the crap, cut out the inessential things of life, and maybe be a little bit more like this. I mean, if I'm really honest, I've probably become too much like this. I've probably become too comfortable in this hermit energy, but compared to where my life was a few years ago, this is comfortable. This is a nice place to be for me. And you know, I really do need to take life step by step and take things slowly for myself. But I think hermit energy is a good energy to be sat in for a time if you are anxious, overthinking, procrastinating. Point number 3 is create a routine, and it's got to be something that's meaningful and realistic to you. I know that many people don't like the thought of having to be in a routine, and sometimes the routine of work and home life can feel quite overwhelming in itself. But I do really think if you can create a routine for yourself that actually is realistic and has some kind of meaning to you, that will help. Because I think that procrastination just thrives on drama and chaos. I think, you know, wherever there is uncertainty and stress in life, you will find yourself overwhelmed and procrastinating. So I think it's important to structure your day, to give yourself what you need to be productive and creative. For me, for example, I tend to be much busier in the morning. My routine is that I get up and I try to do as many of my sort of jobs and chores as I can in the morning, and I tend to give myself more free time in the afternoon and the evening, and that works for me. I have tried really pacing myself and spreading my sort of workload out over the day, but I think I found over time that I didn't really like that, and I tend to sort of be better if I can get everything done in the morning. So that's what works for me. And I think I've found that if I don't get things done in the morning, that sometimes that can lead into anxiety and perhaps procrastination later on in the day, because I feel I haven't done what I wanted to do. But obviously you need to be careful with that, because you don't want to get into I should have, why didn't I, and then start bashing yourself for the fact that you didn't do things. So that's why whatever routine you create for yourself needs to be realistic. It shouldn't be a stick that you beat yourself with, you know. And I think this card here makes me think about this lovely routine. This is the Nine of Pentacles. This is Virgo, so this is me. And I love this card. I just think when everything is going well, when everything is in flow in my life, this is how I feel. You know, I'm happy at home, I'm happy in my garden, I'm happy with the birds in the garden. This is, to me, this Nine of Pentacles is having reached a place in life where you can enjoy what you've built for yourself. You can enjoy your endeavours of life, you know. So yeah, create a routine. Point number 4 is be discerning with the company that you keep. And I really can't stress this one enough, I think, actually, because I think if you're if you are sensitive, if you are anxious, if you're not overly secure within yourself, you can find yourself being led by other people around you and influenced into bad habits. I think it's important to stay true to yourself, to be authentic to yourself, to be self-aware. I mean, you know, I was diagnosed with autism in my early 50s, and, you know, the last couple of years I've really spent a lot of time thinking about that and how my life might have been different had I known when I was younger, because I think that I masked a lot of my life. I projected this face, this mask, this persona out into the world of the person that I wanted to be, or the person that I wanted other people to see, and not really who I was inside, who was actually somebody who was quite easily overwhelmed, quite anxious, quite insecure and quite troubled. And I was so ashamed, I think, of so many of those things that I was able to project this persona out into the world, and that was how I managed to have a career as a mental health nurse. That was how I managed to live my life for a long, long time. And I think when I got my diagnosis, I realised that had to stop, because I wasn't being authentic to myself and I was actually creating many of my problems. So I think that the company that you keep is really important. And I thought I would just illustrate that with the little oracle card that I made for myself the other day, which is from Revolting Rhymes of Roald Dahl, and it says, "I guess you think you know this story. You don't. The real ones are much more gory." And this is about, you know, that appearances can be deceptive. Situations are not always what you think they are. And I think it, you know, it is really, really important to be discerning with the company that you keep. And this beautiful card here, the Three of Cups, is a much nicer energy to be sat in with your friends, your loved ones, the people in your life. You know, for me, I don't need lots of people in my life. I need a good friend or two. I need some like-minded souls to chat to, which I'm feeling very fortunate that I have here on YouTube, and that's enough. It's the quality of the relationships that's important. Let me just have a look at my notes. So, point number 5 is be happy with small wins, be happy with small gains in your life. I think it's important to sort of fortify yourself with the satisfaction of a job well done, of a small win. I think that this sets up sort of good expectations in your mind, and although I certainly don't subscribe to the sort of theories that our brain is like a computer, exactly, but I do also at the same time think that many of our behaviours, many of our habits are learnt things, and the more often that you do something, the bigger sort of neural pathway that you build in your brain. So if you've been avoiding certain things all your life, that behaviour will become like a super highway in your mind. And if you're faced with a choice of a super highway or a little country lane, or if your mind is faced with those things, you're going to go down the super highway because it's quick and it's easy. And I think the more that you invest your time in being happy with small wins, small gains, and having good expectations of things, the bigger those country lanes will grow, and the smaller that the superhighway of avoidance and more negative coping strategies will become. I hope I've explained that properly. I know what I mean. I think, what did I want with the cards here? So I've got the Six of Pentacles here, which to me represents that kind of energy of small wins and small gains. There's a sort of reciprocal energy going on in that, the sort of give and the take, of having good expectations of yourself and of other people. I think the Seven of Pentacles will show that energy also, in that, you know, sometimes we have to be patient, we have to wait for the seed that we've planted to turn into something good, to be productive for us. And every step of the way we can appreciate and celebrate small wins for ourselves. And I think also this Two of Pentacles here from the Osho Zen, to me, represents that kind of energy of taking things a step at a time, of, you know, every step down the mountain is a small win here. This person, I could have actually had this with one of the other points I had, couldn't I, about, what was it I said for the first point? Take life step by step. This one might have been better in take life step by step, this moment to moment energy, but it's a similar thing. These are about small wins. So point number 6 is stop worrying about outcomes. And I can't stress this one enough, really. This is where sort of perfectionism comes in, isn't it? And this is something that I've been guilty of a lot in my life. It's made me push myself into overwhelm and burnout on occasions, really. But this is so important. You know, outcomes are the future. They're not yet known. Nothing's set in tablets of stone. And you may not be able to control the outcome. So why waste your time and your energy going over and over it, or trying to work out what the outcome will be? It's really just a recipe for anxiety, overwhelm and procrastination, isn't it? So to me, this point number 6 about stop worrying about outcomes, this brings about mindfulness, I think. It's about doing everything in the moment with focus and determination to do your best at that time. And really, it's kind of fuck the outcome, really. Just be present. I know it's really hard. I find it really, really hard. And that's because I have these big super highways in my mind that want to know the answer, that want to know the outcome, that wants to know the future. And I'm old enough to know that that's just not possible all of the time. It's just not possible. And even if it is, it's a big drain of energy, and you can tie yourself up in knots. And so I think this card here, Trust, which I think is the Page of Cups in this deck, this kind of represents this energy to me of just going with the moment, going with the flow. The future is unknown. You know, this person is in mid-flight. You know, they're in the journey. They haven't landed yet. The future is still unknown. So yeah, point number 6 is stop worrying about outcomes. And point number 7, the last point, is stop deferring boundary. Stop deferring. That's what I want to say. Stop deferring. So that's stop putting things off, really, which I am really guilty of. A couple of years ago, when I really wasn't very well after I'd given up work, I just, if I could sort of commit myself to something, it was a miracle at the time. I would just put things off all the time. I would tie myself up in knots, procrastinate, become overwhelmed, doubt myself, doubt the situation, and then just cancel or put things off. And I think really this way of managing life is just not healthy at all. It's a road to negativity and even more self-doubt, and eventually self-loathing, I think, because that was the point that I got to, was that I had no confidence left in myself, in my ability to commit to anything, to be reliable, to be consistent. And that's not a good place to be at all. So I think it's really important to try wherever possible to do what you say you're going to do. Of course, sometimes we all have to defer, we all have to put things off. You know, life gets in the way. There's ill health, there's children, there's work, there's all kinds of things. And sometimes we do find ourselves in a position where we have to defer things or put things off. But I think to have boundaries around our commitments is really actually very important for our own self-belief and our own self-esteem. I think, what have I got here for these cards? I mean, this is a card of procrastination, isn't it? The Two of Swords. You know, this is the refusal to sort of commit to anything, isn't it? Being stuck between your head and your heart, and just being stuck there, really, making no progress whatsoever. So yeah, we've also got in the Osho Zen here, postponement, which is the Four of Swords. And normally the Four of Swords is about rest and retreat. But here in the Osho Zen deck, we've got this postponement, and it's like, you know, we can see here in the picture its colour, and everything around it is grey, and that's because she's really only got her eye on the distant future, not on the now. And that's kind of robbing her of some of her own colour, isn't it? Some of her own life and vitality. So I think that's really important. And I think if you continue to put things off and defer and cancel and not do things, you can end up very isolated. You know, this is the Three of Swords here. This person is just completely covered in ice, aren't they? They're stuck inside this block of ice, and it's like they've become so distant and so separate from their heart chakra, from their heart energy. You know, they've just become so stuck in their mind that they've lost all ability to feel. And I think that resonates for me, that scares me. Because I think my procrastination has been quite capable. My anxiety has been quite capable of doing that to me for a long time. And I would really like this year in 2023 to kind of step out of that energy as much as I can. It will be really interesting at the end of this year to watch this video back and to reflect upon any progress that I've made. It'd be really interesting. I've been aware of this as an issue in myself for a long time, but I think I've not really had the time or the energy to feel that I could really address it in any kind of meaningful way. I think that also that thing about perfectionism just kept me going in the past, kept me determined to keep going. And so yeah, anyway, so the points we've got: number 1, step by step, action by action. Number 2, keep life simple. Number 3, create a routine. Number 4, be discerning with the people in your life. Number 5, be happy with daily small wins. Number 6, stop worrying about outcomes. And number 7 is stop deferring, have some boundaries with yourself. So there we go. I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that it was interesting to hear things from my point of view, from my perspective. I would imagine that many people struggle with some of the things that I've been talking about here today. So yeah, I hope that that's helpful. Please do leave me a comment. I would love to know how you feel about this video, whether it's triggered any sort of thoughts or self-reflection in your own mind, and really whether you have any strategies of your own for managing your own anxiety or your own procrastination. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you again soon. Thank you.